You can't make it up. I actually,
every time I think I've seen it all in Massachusetts, I see more. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to play this audio again. Here's the backstory.
What is this case? We forgot to tell.
Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Yeah, we're getting into it. Kelsey Fitzsimmons, of course, is accused of assault in a case in which she was shot, but allegedly brandished a firearm, which caused one of her former partners in the North Andover Police Department to shoot her. Why were they at her house? Because her baby daddy, would-be fiance, had gotten an ex parte order to have the 5-month-old child, his child, removed from her custody because of the postpartum depression that he felt put the child in danger. So they show up on her steps. They begin the process. She's actually beginning, to get clothes and stuff ready to hand this child over. Can you imagine that? All things being equal, can you imagine that scenario?
No, I can't.
So this partner who she worked with is there when she, it's been described in papers by Tim Bradel, half-heartedly pulls her gun and kind of holds it to her head as if she's going to injure herself. That's when the shot is fired. She gets hit in the chest. 53 days in the hospital later, 2 surgeries later, bullet fragment still in her back. She goes to jail for this assault, not for intent to kill, but just an armed assault. So the lesser charge of those things that were on the table. So the court imposes some restrictions. It says, look, if you want to stay out of jail, among other things, you got to do this SCRAM thing, which stands for Security Something Random Alcohol Monitoring, remote alcohol monitoring, because that way we'll know you're not drinking. Not an issue in the subject charges, but something courts do impose sometimes to just, it's not a bad idea. Let's put it that way. So she has problems complying with that because it requires that deep breathing and expelling a lot of air to register. And if it doesn't register and it comes up incomplete, it looks like you're not complying. So to avoid that problem, Tim Bradel takes his client, they go into the court and say, hey, can we just change this, modify it, get it urine testing, something that's not going to cause her pain? And the court ultimately says, no. I know you say it's like torturing her, but since we don't want to torture her and to comply, she has to do SCRAM, we'll just take that out of the equation, put her back in jail, which is where she now is. So there was a hearing today. I called the clerk yesterday to learn more about the hearing, learned, among other things, that Ms. Fitzsimmons was not going to be transported from Chicopee all the way across the state to Salem, which is, they're really on opposite, east-west sides of Massachusetts. They weren't going to do that. It was a real normal pre-trial sentencing, pre-trial conference, because they're just trying to put the pieces together. What's the schedule look like? Didn't really take into account the fact that this petition had been filed to the Supreme Judicial Court in Massachusetts by Mr. Bradel on behalf of Ms. Fitzsimmons to look again at what the court did in revoking her bond and her release and locking her back up. That's all still kind of hovering. So we weren't sure, is it going to be in front of the judge, that, Ms. McCarthy, or is it going to be a different judge? Nobody really knew, but it should have been a pro forma nothing hearing that handled some of the scheduling matters. This whole thing about going to the appellate court, that's operating in its own universe, right? Obviously it has impact, but it had nothing to do with the hearing today. So from Melanie Little, our new best friend.
We love her. She was on last week.
I stole it. I called. I reached out and said, hey, I want to use this. Because I'm not even stripping the audio off. This is her page. And so I want you to listen to it. It was an audio-only appearance.
And can I say one thing?
Sure.
The judge had problems because he only had room for 10 people on this Zoom.
Yeah, and we'll get into that.
10 people. We're going to get into that. But what I want to say is this, and I just posted, I overwrote Missy's discussion of our show, and when we did the thumbnail later on, I said, is there any judge in the lower court in Massachusetts who is not corrupt, mean, or incompetent? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm out there.
You would think that's a hypothetical, but it's really not. That's not a rhetorical question. Okay, so let's see if I can fire off this audio. God hope it works. Tell me if you're going to hear it. Are we hearing anything or not?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so just so I can set this up, that's Mr. Bradel on the phone. They just called the case.
I apologize for the wait. It took us a while with IT to rectify our situation.
No. Recorded.
I understand. Thank you. Calling number 13 on the list, Commonwealth versus Kelsey Fitzsimmons, docket number 2577 CR 311. Counsel, please identify themselves for the record.
Good morning, James Capitosi on behalf of the Commonwealth.
Hello, Your Honor. Timothy Bradle for Kelsey Fitzsimmons.
Why are you not here?
I'm sorry, Your Honor?
Why are you not here?
I was told that it was a phone conference.
Who told you that?
That was my impression from the list, Your Honor.
Well, the problem is that this case has tied up our phone lines, created technical problems this morning, the overcapacity. So it's a little bit, it's delayed our proceedings this morning. And it's caused an administrative problem that we've been unable to resolve, and the noise in the background isn't helping any. So there's a group of people here interested in the case, which is fine, but you're not here, and the people calling in are tying up our phone line to the best of our ability and a capacity which I have no control over. So we're in.
Nor do I, Your Honor. I'm sorry about that, but I had the impression, I guess, that it was a phone hearing.
Well, okay. First thing I want to do today is talk about setting a trial date, because this case is, as demonstrated by this morning, is over our capacity, testing our capacity to address it on the phone line, and the noise in the background is interfering with my ability.
The conference is now in silent mode. The conference is now in silent mode.
I've never heard that. I don't.
The conference is now in silent mode.
God, what a
Okay,
mess.
Mr. Bradle, if you can hear me, you need to get up here.
I'd be in jail.
All right,
I'd be
then.
in jail.
Very
I'd be in
simple.
jail.
So, I mean, okay, and this was a Judge Drescher, not Judge McCarthy, who's a female. But clearly, just to cut to the chase as to what happened. And then we have Scott McGuinness standing by because he was up there. So we're going to get some flavor from him. But bottom line is, apparently the judge then spoke to somebody who said, "Look, Judge, this was supposed to be telephonic, you idiot." And so Bradle called back in, and they had the hearing, which was nothing really more than a scheduling hearing. And they're going to, shoot for a January trial date, blah, blah, blah.
I'm looking at Judge Thomas Jessler's roving room comments. Okay, I'm not happy with it.
And Melanie, hey Scott, Melanie's quite the poker face.
Hi, Michael.
When the judge said what he did, she she was not shy about reacting to that. It was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
So
Scott, you were there.
What was it like up there on the street? What was the turnout like? And obviously, you guys overwhelmed, and the court couldn't handle it.
I got there late because of traffic. There was a major accident. Literally, when I got in front of the courthouse, people were going in. There was at least a dozen, and then there was some latecomers. But I like to stay outside court, and I was actually listening to Melanie Little. And her reaction to Judge Dressler was amazing. It's like, what is this guy's problem?
Yeah.
Bradle had to produce the receipt later on. He sent back the email that went to his office that told him specifically this was a phone conference or Zoom. And then Judge Dressler is like, okay, then we'll just set another date.
And then he was totally bending over backwards to help Bradle. Like, well, what works for you? What do you think? I said, because I went on and did some quick reports on it because I was amazed too. And I said, there's no attorney that is going to flagrantly just show up by phone unless he's got it papered. He knows exactly what he's supposed to do, and it's documented somewhere.
You actually feel bad for Timothy Bradle because, he brought in the hearing to, modify, her pretrial probation conditions, and Judge Newman went after him. And this isn't even a probation violation hearing. This is a motion by the defense to modify her alcohol testing, and Judge McCarthy Newman attacked Bradle, and then today Bradle's like, yeah, this is just a Zoom, it's just a call-in, And the first thing the judge does is jump down Bradel's throat.
Like, yeah,
Bradel
why aren't
must
you
be
here?
like, what are these people doing?
You know, and now you've physically been there. It's not a huge jurisdiction. It's not a huge community. So everybody knows everybody. The judges in that courthouse all know that Bradel has filed this petition, which poops on one of their own, right? So
I'm starting to wonder, with the publicity that this case is getting, I don't think these judges watch LawTubers, but it's pretty interesting. That
well, I'm
Judge
not sure they have.
Dressler,
I'm not sure they know how it works.
but Judge Dressler was like complaining about the amount of purple shirts that were in the courtroom, and
how big
people
was the courtroom?
outside.
How big was the courtroom?
I didn't go inside, Michael. I stayed
Okay.
outside.
But you know how many folks were in there, right?
I mean, Melanie Little was showing the street. You have the old Superior Court, which is a red brick building.
Yeah.
Which is the second one down on the right. The Superior Court is actually 2 more doors down. The Ruane Building, which is a brand new facility, ultra modern, glass walls, 5 stories high. And there's no excuse for that court to not be up to speed with modern technology.
Yeah, that was what amazed
complaining
me.
about 10
Oh,
people.
they were up to speed. Don't give me that. They were up to speed. They were trying to. Okay, I'm not a conspiracy therapist, but I think they're trying to, like, what do you mean? You're going to shine a light on my courtroom? No, you're not. I mean, I think they knew. They just didn't realize how many people were going to come out for this, because they've been trying to ignore it, and now they can't ignore it. And this, excuse me, judge.
Yeah, and I didn't even bring my signs out front. I had to park a couple blocks away, and I'm like, do I bring my sign and flag? I had to park in a commuter rail station parking garage.
So on this picture,
and I didn't even bring my signs, but this judge, maybe a dozen people in his courtroom, a couple people outside, including myself, and he's like already like, oh, why are all these people in my courtroom? Like, he doesn't like the attention.
It's this brick building here.
That's the old Superior Court, Michael.
And is it the one in the foreground that they actually?
No, you would go 2 more doors down.
I see like a big archway here. Is it that one?
The next court building on the right, past the red brick building, is the probate court.
Okay.
Further down in the background of that picture is the new Ruane Judicial Center. That's the new courthouse.
Okay, I don't like the new. I like the old. I like those old ones. Anyway, so I disagree with you, Linda. I think these people are bumpkins, and they've never had to need the technology. 10 people? Why would we ever need more than 10 people on this trunk line that we're using? Because we just don't. Now, are they glad that it didn't facilitate more people? I'm sure they are. But if you listen to them when they're having that back and forth, it doesn't sound contrived. It sounds like we have no clue what we're doing here, and we can't handle this because it just doesn't happen here.
No, but he blames. But Scott, when you came out, where people were talking, this judge blames Bradel for them having only 10 people on the line. He blames Bradel, which means he's blaming Fitzsimmons. How can Kelsey Fitzsimmons get a fair shake anywhere in Massachusetts? She's becoming like Karen Reed. That's what I want to know, Scott. Were you all talking about that?
That's why me and other people that were part of Free Karen Reed are driving up to Salem in October. The traffic and the people, the Halloween tourists, there's no parking. But we're up there to support her because we already I guess we're kind of like shell shocked with the whole Beverly Cannoni Karen Reed thing. And not that you want to be a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. But then you see how Judge, McCarthy Naaman did it. And now this judge, this wasn't even like a major hearing. And he's right down Bradel's throat. Why are you not here? My Zoom isn't working. I have these purple shirts in my courtroom. Just unbelievably ridiculous.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
so
when he
Scott,
said you need to be here, that's ridiculous. And luckily, Bradel didn't take that on its face, and somebody did some quick research and then had to, act like, okay, well, we'll let it slide this time. Well, yeah, because it wasn't his fault. It was your fault, Court.
You know, if you
let
look
me-
at it
let me-
sarcastic, if you look at it sarcastic, it's almost like the Commonwealth and the DA in Essex County, and we haven't done a deep dive into that DA and his state police detective groups. Like we know Michael Morrissey like the back of our hand and his state police detective groups. But you already have people starting to say, what's the political connection here? Why is Judge McCarthy Neiman and this Judge Dressler today being so aggressive and being so, why are they being this way? I mean, even if you believe that she did, point a weapon at a responding officer and they had to use, deadly force, it doesn't make sense. They try to overcharge her. The grand jury failed to produce a bill.
On the intent to commit
Judge
murder,
Neiman
yeah.
with the whole being obtuse and ridiculous with her pretrial probation conditions and just sending her to jail. They can't send her to Essex County in Middleton because she's a former correction officer and cop. They can't, I guess they could have sent her to MCI Framingham Waiting Trial Unit, but they sent her all the way out to Chicopee, and they're not willing to transport her from Chicopee all the way to Salem, Mass. People can Google map that and see how long that is.
Well, yeah, I've talked about it. I've been across that. That's the whole state. It's a tour of the state.
But I have a question.
The last time
Scott.
people were in the hearing, they said that the next hearing is going to be Zoom. That's on record.
Bradel said he wanted to be there, and they said we're going to do it remote.
And then the judge jumps down his throat. Why aren't you here? And Bradel was like shell shocked. Like,
I'm sure he was.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I sent him an
Michael,
email.
I'm going to interrupt you guys. I have to know the answer to this question. Okay, because I'm dealing with two guys. You two are gentlemen, right? Both of you are gentlemen. Both of you try to do the right thing. Both of you are ethical. Both of you stand up for what you believe in. Excuse me. Where the F are the effing prosecutors and DAs on the other side who knew this was just a status hearing? Where the F are the effing prosecutors and DAs on the other side who knew that she hadn't violated any of the issues of probation when it came to her alcohol testing? Where the F is anybody in Massachusetts in any of these courtrooms? And hello, Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court and Ethics Board, or whatever you are, because I had a great judge in Hernandez. He was wonderful. He was terrific. He was fair, even though he may have been a little beside with the prosecution. Okay, we didn't have these issues. So where the F are the prosecutors on all these cases now, and where's the head court now? Scott.
I don't know. That's where we go down that rabbit hole. Is nobody was willing to speak up because it starts to look like, oh, we just want her to plead out and have this whole problem go away, whether it was a good shoot or bad shoot. There's no body cams. We just want her to plead out and just wipe this off the docket. That's what it's starting to look like.
I mean, we haven't even gotten to the merits of it because there's so much crap in the way. The merits of this case are going to be tricky enough because it's a he said, she said. She said, he shot. And so to your question, Linda, the prosecutor today said nothing.
Really? Nothing?
Nothing. The prosecutor in the first go round when there was the issue about whether she was or wasn't in compliance, the prosecution never said, we're here to violate her. That's not why we're here. They did. I think they did all they could within ethical confines to not help the defense, but not hurt the defense. They were very honest about why they were there and that they weren't making that an issue. We're not saying she was non-compliant. And if you're not saying she's non-compliant, how in the hell is she back in jail? I was looking.
I think that everyone has a right to speak up.
She couldn't blow into the scram.
I mean,
probation didn't violate her.
No, nobody did.
And then the judge threw her in jail.
And the probation officer was there to tell the whole story. And she ultimately, ironically enough, on that fourth test, which she was incomplete on. She continued to try it and finally had a complete. So at that point, she was compliant. So there was no way she could be violated. This judge, and this is hard for me to fathom and say, but even Judge Bev Canone never did anything so outrageous to take the freedom away from somebody at this stage of any prosecution.
Good point.
I mean, that's a pretty bad measure.
I think silence is the voice of the complicity. I think the prosecutors are just as bad as the judges in these two situations for not speaking up and saying this is wrong. All right. When I was a prosecutor, if I saw something, I said something. Maybe that's not the way you do things now. But, you know, right now, what we're seeing is outrageous. We see great activity from Scott. Scott is there all the time. We see great activity from the citizens over here. What we're not seeing is great activity from the judges and whoever politicians are appointing these judges, okay? And maybe that's why the world is on fire right now.
Well, that's what I've said from the beginning.
I suppose, though, elected judges in other states, you still have, you know, politics. I don't know what the easy answer is.
Of course. My problem is, even when you have rules in place, like the very famous Rule 14, unless the judges hold the parties to those rules, what's it matter? I mean, we look at the Aiden Carney cases where again and again and again, they violate, the Commonwealth violates the discovery rules. And what's the judge say? Well, maybe in 2 weeks, you know, we'll look at that again. Now, you're going to give them something, right? You're going to give them something? That was my Doolin impression. You know, so it's up to the judges to do the right thing. And
you would hope any judge, no matter how they got to the bench, whether they were elected, whether they were, as they are in Massachusetts, nominated by sitting governors, once they get to the bench, it's the old Lady Justice with the blindfold on and the equal scale.
Justice is blind, yes.
And when you look at, like, you know, the Karen Reed case, the Aiden Carney case, and now this case, I can't help but think the scale is a little bit toward the state, and now the defendant has to fight their way back to level. Never mind.
Yeah, guilty till proven innocent.
You know, you hate to be that sarcastic or pessimistic about.
How could you not be? How can you not be when you see everything that's unfolding up there in your neighborhood? It's frightening. You just got to think at some point it's got to change.
And me personally, I don't know what happened when those shots were fired. I'm not even claiming.
No, we're not talking about the merits.
I'm just looking at, why is she in jail right now? She has the right for bail. There's things that could be in place to alcohol test her. It's ridiculous. Let's just throw her in jail and make her look bad. We're going to embarrass her attorney every time he comes into court, like Judge Dressler did today.
Yeah, he just embarrassed himself.
Where's the scale of justice?
Yeah, he embarrassed himself. He didn't embarrass Bradel, that's for sure.